read the book, and he said, God, we got to go down there. I want to see a game. And so I said, well, here's the schedule. You pick a day. Well, not only did he pick a day, but he started organizing a caravan. And from that season on until he died last year, we had about 20 or 25 people go down for a game. It got to the point where the lady who was in charge of the kids cooking pastries and all that, yeah, she had to double the order because we had one guy that just came in and just says, how much for everything? So that was fun. And didn't get a lot of static from anybody. I was just sort of one of the people there at the game. And Corey did ask me one time to do the coin toss, which was fun. And I forgot my glasses that night, and I couldn't see what I was doing, but we faked it and got through it. Any questions?
Did you have any inkling of that book like Friday Night Lights? To stay with a team like that when you did that book?
You know, I didn't really even think about that. I certainly wasn't trying to write like Bissinger did. I'll give you an interesting little story about Friday Night Lights, though, my limited involvement in that book. I was working for the Dallas Cowboys, editing the Cowboys Weekly. And I got a call one evening while we were putting out the little paper, and the guy identified himself as Buzz Bissinger. He was at the Philadelphia Inquirer, I think, one of the Philadelphia papers. And he said, I'm thinking about coming to Texas to write a book about high school football. And I understand, you've been around high school football and know a little about it and all that. Where should I go? And that's a hard question to answer. Because Gordon Wood was still coaching at Brownwood successfully. Odessa Permian was kind of in its heyday at that time. And I forget who else was doing well. Anyway, I said, okay, if you want a small town, small C, go here. If you want to focus on a legendary coach, go to Brownwood. If you want a program that's more college than high school, go to Permian. We talked about it. The last I ever heard from him, but he wound up at Permian. And I take it back. We have had a phone conversation or two, but I didn't know him from Adam, had no idea what kind of book he had in mind or what kind of writer he was, but he did a wonderful job. But that was not the kind of book that I wanted to write. I could have gone to a 6-man school community where they were a successful program, Throckmorton or somewhere like that, where they'd won state championships and all that. Then it kind of becomes like every other sports book. I knew nothing about Penelope. I went there dead cold. And I walked out on the field and I introduced myself to Coach, and he didn't know me from Adam, and I didn't know that they hadn't won a game, or weren't likely to win a game, that they'd only been, doing football for a few years and all of that. It was a serendipitous type thing. It was what I was looking for as a writer. It could be 1955 instead of 2000, whatever, in this book. The people there are the kind of people I grew up with. Somebody was mentioning the kids in Lubbock not having indoor plumbing. when I was growing up, and I remember we moved from one rent house to the next, and I remember moving to this house, and one of the first things I did was to go outside and check the outhouse, and it was a two-holer. And I thought, hellfire, we are moving up. So, now I'm not saying that they don't have running water in Penelope, but some of their grandparents would remember a time that they didn't. And it's a place, it's a remarkable place where everybody kind of takes care of everybody else and cares about everybody else. And I didn't have to make any of this up. I mean, I just sort of let the story that I was going to tell unfold as I learned it. And it was just so much fun. And Corey and April here will tell you that they fell in love with the people when they were teaching and coaching there. It's almost, I'm not a good enough writer to adequately describe this feeling that you get, but it's very real. And over the years after this book has come out, I know specifically the first few years, I'd go down for nearly every home game, and there would be a number of strange faces among the crowd. And it would be people that just, hey, let's go to Penelope, let's see about it. And they, if they found out who I was, they would come to me and say, you know, we just had to come look at this place and meet some of these people. And so it's infectious in a sense. But, and I could ramble on and on, but if I'd love to answer any questions, anything. Yes?
What's your next book you have planned? I know you're not planning to retire anytime soon.
Well, right now I'm not sure. Glenn Dromgoole, who's sitting back here, just published a little book I'm proud of. It's a collection of pieces, columns, essays that I did primarily for American Airlines In-Flight magazine. A little back of the magazine, one page. And there were enough of them that were on Texas subjects, and combining them with some things I'd written for New York Times and Dallas Morning News and things like that, that we published this book called On Texas Back Roads. And it was fun because it deals with some of the things that are only absurd to people who don't live in Texas. The world's tallest skyscraper, world's smallest skyscraper in Wichita Falls, where back during the oil boom, a guy comes in there and all these oil men are needing office space. And so he shows them blueprints, tells them how much it'll cost, and they pay him, and he builds this 4-story building. And what they didn't know is that the scale was not in feet or yards, but in inches. And this building is about as wide as that case right there. If that were square, that's the size of the building. There aren't even any stairs going from first floor to the second floor to the third. But it's become kind of a sightseeing oddity. Those kinds of stories have always fascinated me. I love the ghost towns, small towns. Thurber, which is between Abilene and Fort Worth, was at one time the largest city in Texas between Fort Worth and El Paso, and now the population is 4. All Brothers baseball team in High, Texas, down near Johnson City. Back in the Depression when everybody had a town baseball team and you'd play the town down the road. High, Texas had 9 brothers that made up a team when Lyndon Johnson wasn't playing first base for them. And so this guy who was a salesman for a coffee company finds out about it. He thinks it's a great promotion, so he goes in search of another All Brothers baseball team to play this German family. And he finds a Polish family in Waukegan, Illinois. Stanzik had 11 brothers. So, long story short, the little small town mouse, the country mouse, whatever, and the big city mouse met in Wichita, Kansas, and played for the All Brothers World Championship. What a great story. I mean, you know, as a writer, it's pretty hard to screw that one up. The material